Welcome back to Mr. Orr's Flipped Classroom for Grammar, looking at Language Network Chapter 9, Adjective and Adverb Clauses. Better make sure we include noun clauses. A noun clause is a subordinate clause used in place of a noun or pronoun. An adjective clause is a subordinate clause used to describe or modify a noun or pronoun. Adjective clauses also are going to describe a who or a what in a sentence. Adverb clauses are subordinate clauses used to describe or modify a verb, an adjective, or an adverb. They also can be described as they're describing where, when, why, or how. Depending on your teacher, you may need to learn essential and non-essential clauses as well. Essential clauses are necessary information for the reader. How do we tell which ones they are? They're not going to be in parentheses, nor are they between commas. Non-essential clauses are going to be helpful but unnecessary information for a particular reader. They're usually placed between commas or inside of parentheses. Some example subordinate conjunctions. Why, because, so that, if, and as if. You might want to add the word wherefore, W-H-E-R-E-F-O-R-E, as an example of a why. You'll see that when you do Romeo and Juliet. When, words like after, before, until, when, whenever, while, as long as soon as, or since. Where, words like where and wherever. Words for how, like unless, than, though, even though, as though. However, it can be a subordinate conjunction, although most times we use it after a semicolon and before a comma, doing the job of a conjunctive adverb. So it's a little bit different. How do we find them? Number one hasn't changed. Always find all the verbs. Then we find all the subjects for each verb. Then we look for subordinate conjunctions. Words like because, if, how, who, what, whatever signals the start of a subordinate clause. Remember that if a clause can be replaced by it, this is going to be a noun clause. If not, however, then you need to find the word the subordinate clause modifies. If that word is a noun or pronoun, or describes a who or a what, then that is an example of an adjective clause. If that word is a verb, an adjective, or an adverb, or it describes a where, when, why, or how, then you're looking at an adverb clause. I lost the book that held my homework. What is the verb? We have lost and we have held. Who or what lost? I lost. I lost what? The book. All right, independent clause, end of story. Who or what held? That's a little trickier. Is it the book? The question mark on that because I'm not sure. Looking at the sentence, the word that's in between. And that, in the sentence, is actually a relative pronoun. It's connecting two things. It's actually connecting I lost the book, that independent clause, with the rest of the sentence. So it's connecting, therefore it's a conjunction. In this case, a relative pronoun actually can work as both the simple subject for the verb held and as the conjunctive word, actually connecting two sentences together. So we've got a subordinate clause. What type of subordinate clause, though? Well, that held my homework. What's it describing? If it's describing a what, like the book, which it is, then you've got an adjective clause. There's no commas here, so we consider this clause to be essential. Second example. Because the class is important, I had to complete the homework again. What do we have for verbs? We have is and we have had to complete. Or what is? The class. Who or what had to complete? I did. So now we're looking for conjunctions. We have because in the front of the sentence. Therefore, because the class is important, that's a dependent clause or subordinate clause, followed by a comma. I had to complete the homework again. That's an independent clause. So because, as we know, if we had to figure out which W it's describing or answering, it's answering a why. And if it's answering why, then we have to look at it as being an adverb clause. You want to also explain and say, well, it's describing, had to, why did I have to complete it? Therefore, it's explaining a verb, and that also would be an adverb. A little bit trickier, depends on what you need to do. And by the way, since there's no commas separating that whole phrase from the sentence, we're going to consider that to be an essential clause. All right, for practicing, make sure you name the word or phrase that's described, that each phrase modifies, or figure out which W it is, write that down. Then label subordinate clause as adjective or adverb or noun if it's relevant. Good, gente.